Hello everybody, I'm Charlie Cummins with Phoenix Masonry Training Center, and today I'm going to talk about why it is impossible to learn to lay brick, block, and stone on the job. And I hate the word impossible, but it's 99% true and has been for the last 8,000 to 10,000 years. 99% of all masonry contractors and bricklayers will not teach you on the job. 95% of all the union halls that had apprenticeship training 50 years ago are closed down now. In Texas, in 1965, they had over 100 union halls just in Texas. Now they have one. Here's what happens when you call a contractor and say, I want to learn to lay brick, block, and stone. Will you teach me? That contractor is going to say, I'm going to start you off as a bricklayer's helper, a mason tender, a hottie. Now here's what's going to happen. The very first day you're going to work your butt off or he'll fire you. Now after a week or two you're a pretty good hottie. Let's be truthful. It's not rocket science to carry mortar, brick, block, and stone to within 2 feet of a mason. No mason is going to get his own brick, block, and stone and mortar. You're now going to be a hottie for the rest of your life or until you quit, because nobody will teach you on the job. It's been that way for 8,000 or 10,000 years. If you don't believe me, ask any 2 to 10-year-old hottie. They'll tell you. Now, with your permission, I'm going to tell you a few stories to help you understand all the above. I trained the son of a Secret Service agent who lived in the northeast part of the United States. Here's the story. When his son was 15 years old, he said, son, what do you want to be when you get out of high school? Because he knew his son was not ready to go to college. His son immediately said, Dad, I want to be a bricklayer. His son, the Secret Service, his dad, the Secret Serviceman, he said, no problem, son, I'll take care of it. He called the union halls, bricklayers' union halls, and real quick he found out that unless your daddy or your daddy-in-law is a union member that the other union members like, you don't have a chance of ever getting into their apprenticeship training program. No problem. He's a Secret Service guy. He knows how to Google things. He Googled bricklaying schools, masonry schools. Hundreds of them came up. Community colleges that hadn't taught masonry in 30 or 40 years, but they still carried it. There was nobody teaching people how to lay brick, block, and stone. Well, he found one school in Maine. They wanted $35,000. It was 1.5 years long, and you only had 15 hours of hands-on training. Well, being in the Secret Service, he was smart enough to know that you can't learn to lay brick, block, and stone in 15 hours of hands-on training. So he told his son, it's easier getting a Secret Service than it is to learn to lay brick, block, and stone. Well, time went on, and around about 2004, him and another Secret Service guy was guarding a person that was running for the president, a presidential candidate. They were standing out in the hotel. When they were in the hotel room, they stood out in front of their room. He told this Secret Service man what I just told you. I can't believe it's impossible to learn how to lay brick in the United States. It's easier to get in the Secret Service. Well, the Secret Service guy that he was working with was from Phoenix. And he said, hey, there's a school out in Phoenix. They advertise in the employment guide. Why don't you check them out? Well, the son, the mother and dad got on the airplane, they flew out. The boy had just graduated high school. He was now 18. They liked it. He went back, got his pickup truck, had a cousin lived here in Phoenix that he could stay with, he drove out. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say the boy was about 8. His dad came out several times. We became pretty good friends. He was a nice guy. And after his boy graduated, finished the Master Mason course, he went back home and he went to work for a small contractor who was doing repair work, mainly fixing chimneys, bricking a house, just small stuff. And after about a year, the dad retired from the Secret Service, and last I heard they'd gone in business for themselves. So there's one story about how hard it is to learn this trade. The second story I'm going to tell you is about a masonry contractor. He had called me. He had heard about us. You know, a lot of people know us. And I talked with him. Well, I was a little bit surprised to find out that he was president and head of a masonry association, and they had a school, and they were a training center, and they were training people how to lay brick, block, and stone. I was a little shocked when I found out they had 10 schools that were training centers that were teaching people how to lay brick, block, and stone. But it was utter chaos. They were having problems with it. And I can understand that because it ain't as easy as it looks. So anyway, I went and seen a guy. This was about 210 or 211. He had told me that he had lost 75% of his wealth with the housing crisis and everything else of 208 and 209. They had just had the earthquake in Haiti. A bunch of people got killed and all that. And so he was going to try to get right with God or whatever. And he had volunteered to go to Haiti to teach them how to lay brick and block and to help them rebuild the island for 1 year. Well, we talked a couple of times while he was in Haiti, and that was real good and everything else. But then about 219, he called me. He needed masons. He was back, and he was in the masonry business again. That's when I found out how big a contractor he was. If he had lost 75% of his wealth, then he must have had $50 or $100 million and been very liquid before he lost it. Because he was contracting, he was building 6 or 8 elementary and high schools. He had 3 Walmarts going, 2 or 3 Home Depots, a couple of Lowe's, several Walgreens, and so forth. He had 150 masons and hotties working for him. He probably owned $3 or $4 million worth of equipment. He was a big time. In fact, he's the biggest masonry contractor that I personally know and became a friend with. I told him that I didn't have anybody that would go where he was located. Then I suggested, why don't we partner and start a training center in your hometown? You get to pick the cream of the crop. He gets first choice at all the superstars. And in 2 or 3 months, he can start getting more work, because when they finish a Master Mason course, they don't have any problem getting top dollar anywhere in the United States or the world for that matter. And here's his answer. And it even shocked me. I'm hard to shock. He said, Charlie, I'm not going to spend $1 training someone who will just quit me and go to work for somebody else or start contracting and become a competitor to me. Now friends, it's been that way for 8 or 10,000 years and ain't going to change. That's why 99% of all contractors and bricklayers will never teach you to lay brick, block, and stone on the job. Therefore, if you want to learn to lay brick, block, and stone in less than 300 hours of hands-on training, that's just 10 short weeks if you come 30 hours a week. Give me a call right here. Remember my double your money down, double your money guarantee. Also remember, we start new trainees every day and we finance everyone. Also, remember, we work with employment staffing companies that can get you working masonry for top dollar anywhere in the USA. Why top dollar? Because the more money you make, the more money that employment staffing company makes. That's why. Also remember, no robot will ever replace you. Your job or your profession will never go to another country. They can't build a Walmart in China and ship it to the United States. Any questions you may have, call, text, or email me. I'm Charlie Cummins. If you can't come to Phoenix for 8 or 10 weeks for training, be sure to ask about a home study course that we will soon be offering, and you can take part of it in the comfort of your own home and just come to Phoenix for a week or maybe 2 weeks to complete the Master Mason course. Also, we're getting close to opening up a few more training centers nationwide that may be closer to you than Phoenix. To close, always remember, only you can choose to have a good or a bad day. So be sure and choose a great day and a better tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.